In 2019, someone posted a single image on 4chan. Yellow wallpaper, fluorescent lights, the feeling of a bad dream in a corporate hallway. By 2022, that image had become a phenomenon, thanks to a 17-year-old filmmaker named Kane Pixels, also known as Kane Pixels. His YouTube series, The Backrooms, turned a 2-paragraph creepypasta into a sprawling analog horror universe, and now into an A24 movie. But if you walk into that movie only knowing the memes, you're gonna miss out on a lot of the story and the language that it's speaking. Because The Backrooms isn't just internet horror, it's a remix of 50 years of movies, books, games, and haunted architecture. We're gonna dive deep into The Backrooms. Welcome back, baby bats and scaredy cats. I am Isabella von Ghoul, and today we're going to be breaking down the key influences that built Kane Pixels' world and what you should understand before the A24 film arrives. I've been a big fan of this series for a while now. Actually, the whole analog horror genre, Gemini Home Entertainment, Local 58, Marble Hornets, the Mandela Catalog, Monument Mythos, the Walton Files, all of it. I love it. I think it's great. I remember trying to convince my college roommate to watch Marble Hornets with me, and she did watch 2 videos. And then later on, I learned that she reported me to the TA, saying that I was making her watch illegal snuff films. So that didn't go over very well. Kane Pixels shoots The Backrooms as if every video was recovered from a lost camera. The date stamps, the glitches, the way the camera holds on empty hallways for just a little bit too long. That's not just style, that's a direct line to 1999's The Blair Witch Project. What Blair Witch understood, and what Kane repeats, is that the camera isn't just a window, it's a character. It lies, it misses things, it runs out of battery. Besides the fact that VHS was a thing probably a decade or so before Kane was even alive, the fascination with the ancient technology is there. Right now, many members of Gen Z and Gen Alpha have begun their love of analog technology, returning to things like DVDs, tapes, vinyls, and film cameras. There seems to be this nostalgia for these things, even though many of them are encountering them for the first time in the 2020s. Things that I grew up with most of my life with, but I digress. The interest in analog horror seems to be a strange nostalgia for when technology was simpler and less tied to corporations that were harvesting your data. But there's also an uncanniness to it. The tech wasn't perfect, not at all. And compared to someone who grew up watching HD or 4K media, the imperfections can seem a little creepy. When you watch VHS, the sound can be funky. The colors can be off or not quite right. Sometimes there's visual aberrations and glitches in the middle of a scene. And when I was growing up, that was just normal. It was completely normal to slap the side of your TV to get the picture right again. But that disconnect created a gap, a space for something unknown to crawl through, and that's how we get analog horror. Analog horror is a subgenre of horror fiction, commonly characterized by low-fidelity graphics, cryptic messages, few to no traditional jump scares, and visual styles reminiscent of late 20th century television and analog recordings. For example, like I talked about before, Local 58 or Gemini Home Entertainment, faux public access tapes, emergency alerts, the idea that the warning system itself has been corrupted. It has its roots in the found footage genre and can even be tied to the genre of fictional live broadcast, like the original one, Orson Welles' War of the Worlds, and 1992's Ghost Watch. In an odd way, the analog technology feels more real, less likely to be manipulated by AI or perfectly curated by an algorithmic committee. Even though you know the analog horror is fake, its imperfections oddly make it feel more real. So before you go into the movie, understand this: the camera isn't safe. If the film uses found footage, every frame is suspect. And if it doesn't, expect the same philosophy. That perception is unreliable. The camera doesn't show you everything. It cuts, it omits, it edits. There are some things that you are allowed to know and some things that you aren't allowed to know. Your eyes don't always tell you the full story. One of the other influences I noticed is a book, and it's not really an easy one. In the year 2000, Mark Z. Danielewski published House of Leaves. It's by now a cult classic. It's also a challenge to read, and it's on purpose. The book tells the story of a documentary about a house that is bigger on the inside than it is on the outside, which is not physically possible. As you walk inside the house begins to change. A closet becomes a hallway. The hallway becomes a labyrinth, and the labyrinth keeps going and going and going and going, which should sound familiar. The core horror of House of Leaves is the same as the Backrooms: architecture that does not obey physics. In the book, a family discovers that their house contains a void, a cold, dark, impossible space that measures slightly larger than the outside of the house, then much larger, then infinitely larger. The book introduces the concept of the 5.5-minute hallway, a corridor that takes longer to traverse than the physical dimensions of the house should allow. That's exactly what happens in Kane's Backrooms. You walk for 10 minutes. You should have reached a wall, but you don't. But House of Leaves adds something else: the idea that the labyrinth responds to fear. The more lost you become, the more the house changes. It's not a static maze, it's a living maze, and it wants you to keep walking. The anxiety in the Backrooms is that there is something in there with you. Maybe it's another person, maybe it's another thing, or maybe it's the Backrooms itself. The fear becomes something that is both external and internal. You know what you're experiencing and you know what you're perceiving, but it's not right. They don't match. It's the kind of feeling someone would have if they were experiencing a hallucination or a delusion, maybe a psychotic break. Your reality and your perception are not the same, and you can't quite pinpoint how. Something is wrong here, everything is wrong here, but how? The Backrooms is not just big, it's wrong. It breaks the laws of geometry, and the longer you stay, the more it breaks you. In 2017, Garrett Kelly and Jeremy Puma started a website called liminal.earth, a website that maps strange and uncanny sites around the world. We've long wanted to do something that acts sort of like Google Trends, which tracks sudden spikes on Google search queries for the collective unconscious. This map is an extension of that, because we're trying to see if there are strange places or experiences that are actually quite common go unnoticed because everyone is afraid to talk about this weird stuff happening to them. Liminality is traditionally known as a stage between rites of passage, where the participant is done with their pre-ritual stage but has yet to begin their next ritual phase. At this time, they stand at the threshold. They are in between the space. Many of us experience this in our tweens. We're not quite children, but also not quite teenagers as well. Now, many people use the term liminal space theory. And no, it's not just like a TikTok aesthetic or like a Tumblr aesthetic. It can be described to use spaces. A hotel could be a liminal space, an airport, anything that is between one place and the next. If you wanted to think about it more esoterically, you could even think about the idea of purgatory being a liminal space. You are neither in heaven nor hell. Look at the Shining's Overlook Hotel. Endless corridors, a party that never ends, a hotel that's bigger on the inside. Stanley Kubrick understood that the most terrifying thing isn't a monster, it's a hallway that shouldn't be there. Kane does the same thing. One moment you're in an office, the next you're in a 1980s living room, a pool, a church, a playground. These aren't levels, they're almost like memories, spaces that feel familiar but have no business being connected to each other. Many of us are familiar with that feeling. Those spaces, being in an empty mall, a restaurant at closing time, maybe being at school when nobody else is there and the corridors are long and silent. And this is where House of Leaves and the Backrooms touch again. In the book, the house's labyrinth doesn't just contain darkness, it contains other places. A cavern, a spiral staircase that descends for miles. The idea that one impossible space can contain another. Liminal spaces are about almost remembering something. You feel like you've been here before, but that's the horror. Not the unknown, but the almost known. Another influence is the bureaucratic supernatural. Horror that happens not in a haunted house, but in an office. Kane's series spends almost as much time with Async, the research group, as it does with the Backrooms themselves. We see board meetings, safety briefings, PowerPoint presentations about interdimensional physics that are sometimes honestly kind of boring, really. And it gives like Severance energy a lot of the times. The idea that corporate culture in itself is a kind of horror. The beige walls, the annoying lights, the way that office speak is used to paper over existential terror. And the godfather here is 1979's Alien, right? Ridley Scott understood that a spaceship can be an office in space. And the monster isn't just a xenomorph. It can also be the company that sent you there. We live now in a time period where we are often asked to increase shareholder profit over human lives, where many of us spend our limited and precious time on Earth doing repetitive, meaningless, valueless work in front of computers. The bureaucracy as monster trope rings very familiar to us, and helps us to feel even more empathetically for anyone who gets stuck in this purgatory-like backrooms. Even House of Leaves plays with this game. The book is filled with fake academic footnotes, arguing editors, and unreliable narrators. It's a bureaucracy of interpretation. No one agrees on what the house is. They keep writing reports over and over again. Bureaucracy can be just as dangerous as the monster. If Async appears in the film, which I think they will, you shouldn't trust them. They're not trying to save anyone. They might just be trying to save an extra dollar. The Backrooms also houses an ambiguous monster, another similarity with the House of Leaves, and its darkest twist. The book famously asks, is there a monster in the house, Or is the house the monster? By the end, you're not really sure if the labyrinth has a beast at its center or if the people have already entered the belly of the beast. In most horror movies, the monster is a predator. The blob consumes. The thing assimilates. The Backrooms creature, what the fans call the bacteria, is kind of different. Fans have gone over the audio, which I can't tell exactly what it's saying, but I have really bad ears. And the creature seems to say human words. Bacteria might not be evil. It might be lost. It might be a former person or someone who got no-clipped years ago and is so disoriented that they're just angry. Annihilation from 2018 is the closest cousin. The shimmer doesn't hate you. It refracts you. The bear that screams with a woman's voice isn't malicious. It's a copy that forgot that it's a copy of a copy. Much like the Backrooms copies real places and real furniture, it acts like a prism, refracting an image until it obscures itself and forgets what it originally was. The monster might be a victim, and honestly, if I could think of Kane, I wouldn't really expect just like a typical angry monster. I would expect something much deeper than that. I mean, even though he's so young, his depth of storytelling is actually extremely mature, and I'm not jealous, but I'm very impressed by his depth of storytelling. It's amazing, but also like...
Sure, Jan.
The things that you need to know is you cannot trust the camera. The camera is a character, not a window. The house is wrong. House of Leaves teaches us that the impossible architecture doesn't just trap you, but it can also change you. Liminal spaces are about almost remembering, and that nostalgia can also be a trap. And the bureaucracy is lying. Async or whatever, they will always have an agenda. And the creature might be trying to tell you something. You should listen to it before you run away. And remember, in House of Leaves, the Minotaur isn't hiding in the labyrinth. The labyrinth is the Minotaur. Kane Parsons built a universe out of borrowed parts, Kubrick's corridors, Lynch's Red Room, Danielewski's Impossible House, but he made them feel new, fresh, not by inventing monsters, but by reminding us that the scariest places aren't the ones we've never seen. He's refracting them, turning them into copies of copies of copies of copies, turning them into something that we almost remember. So what do you think about the influences that I picked up? What do you think that I missed? Let me know in the comments. Thank you so much for watching this video. I want to hear your thoughts about the Backrooms. I'm very excited about this movie. I'm also very interested in this whole thing of like YouTubers becoming like major movie makers. It's very interesting that's been happening lately. Please like, share, and subscribe this video if you liked it, if you enjoyed it. I hope that you did. If you didn't like it, damn, you know, we're all doing our best. So hopefully I'll see you in the next video. If I do, or if I don't, take care of yourself, be kind to each other, look out for your neighbors and for others, because remember, the monsters are always closer than you think. Okay, bye.